The incident was 6 days ago. I'll tell you all I can remember since then. At the time, I was a mid-ranking member of THRAL, a lucrative and very secretive special forces, specializing in biochemical investigation and removal. THRAL was comprised of 50 men and women, with 10 assigned to each of 5 teams. Due to the severity of the cases that we were assigned, there would be long breaks between jobs, allowing each team to manage a sector of 10 states, aside from Hawaii and Alaska. I was a member of THRAL-C, the team in charge of the Midwest. My codename was Cradle.
November 26th, 6 a.m., Texas.
While in line at a gas station with energy drink in hand, I received a message on my THRAL-administered work phone, which was required to be kept on units at all times. I bought my unreasonably priced drink from the exhausted cashier and made my way back to the car. After ensuring the door is locked, I pulled the phone out of my pocket. I powered up the phone, which automatically scanned my face and fully unlocked.
New order administered. Please report to designated location.
I rotated the phone into landscape mode and glanced over the briefing.
From Director THRAL-B, Unit Spite, has gained considerable intel on a potential threat to civilian life. A synthetic chemical with unknown effects is being conceived in rural Texas by a terrorist organization known as FAIL. All THRAL-C units must report within the next 10 hours to Dallas Base of Operations.
Christ, I spoke to myself. Wasn't expecting Vale to ever work again. I smiled and looked out to the horizon, where the sun was not visible. After taking in the colors of the newly dawned sky for a short while, I sheathed my key into the ignition and started my car.
November 27th, 12 p.m.
For the sake of your time and mine, I'll be skipping explaining hours of driving and waiting. Once the 10 members of THRAL-C arrived, we were immediately deployed into 2 large stealth vans. I turned to the man sitting on my right. "Hey, Thread." He turned his attention away from the floor and to my eyes. Thread was the commander of the team, and the member I was closest with. He was in his mid-30s. "What's up with this mission? Where was the debriefing?" He just shrugged. "No clue. Apparently what was mentioned in the brief is all we know."
"They must really want to get rid of us,"
said Monarch through her comms back. She was the often silent newest member of the team.
"Vale is dangerous. We can't go in knowing nothing."
"We know ourselves," interjected Thread.
"Hardly,"
Monarch replied, the already faint smile fully leaving her face. The van lurched to a halt. A repetitive beep began to emit from the back as it swung open. The 3 of us strapped our THRAL-issue rifles to our uniforms. We had arrived.
November 28th, 8:11.
There was a sickening, flat tone coming from my earpiece, and my vision began to blur. It was driving me fucking mad. I ripped the comms pack from my uniform. I tore it, the mechanism out of my ear, and threw the devices to the ground. I couldn't...
November 27th, 12:30 p.m.
The sky was a gray haze, which was strange given the clear weather forecast I had read on my phone. But then again, when are the weather channels ever on the mark? The team approached the back of the farmhouse precautiously, Thread up front with rifle in hand. He slowly neared one of the windows, after a second eternity of dead silence, gave the signal to move up. In order for this to roll smoothly, we would need to be systematic in our actions. Unit Bleak approached the back door with a battering ram. Thread whispered, "Go." And just like that, with a deafening explosion, we were in. At first glance, the place was empty. At second glance, it was abandoned. The team lowered their weapons in near perfect unison. "Search every corner," shouted Thread, "and stay on your toes." I decided to search the eastern part of the house as the rest of the team cautiously dispersed. I opened the bedroom door and
8:11 a.m. a.m. 8:11.
This can't be fucking happening. I can see inside my own fucking skull. Nothing makes any sense. The shards of my perception have been broken into atoms. My brain wanders a plane of deception. Those around me who were once human now writhe and twist and shriek and squirm and
November 27th, 1:30 p.m.
What is it?
said Monarch. We were all gathered around the object on the bed. Fuck if I know, I said. When I got too close, I could feel something. Monarch and the others looked at me for a moment, and back to the object. It was an orange, translucent, crystalline butterfly. I felt an all-encompassing sense of dread as I looked at it, and forced myself to turn away. Prep an evidence box, said Thread to Unit Haste. Haste nodded and went out to the van to retrieve it. I can't believe the entire place was empty, I said to a room full of perplexed units. It's not normal for a mission to ever be incorrect, and we usually only deal with improvised chemical bombs. What's going on here? Everyone in the room looked at me. Their eyes and shrugs told me that they knew nothing.
8.
The pungent mess of flesh and rotating mouths on the floor that used to be my friend began to spray a white pus all over the floor. I tried to hold back the vomit, but I was overcome by the stench. The entire time I was vomiting, a sense of panic was washing over me, feeling completely defenseless in the face of an unexplainable horror. I began to scream, yet I could not even hear it. The unending howls of the masses around me completely overpowered my desperate cry.
November 27th, 3 p.m.
The vans were gone. Thread was less than impressed, shouting every profanity he knew before collecting himself and calling HQ. Transport was on the way, but it would be another several hours, possibly even 12, which once more sent Thread into a spiral of rage. I sat down in the living room with the rest of the team and began to wait. Then, the ceilings and walls are made of flesh. The carpet is made of hair. My skin is alive. The skin in the walls is alive. The monsters that sit only feet away from me are sickeningly alive. I am alive. I'm alive in this reality that should not exist. I'm stuck viewing the truth.
November 28th, 8 a.m.
We had been waiting for far too long, and more than half the crew was fast asleep. But I was restless. I stepped over the sleeping bodies of my teammates and made my way to the closed bedroom door. Something about the strange crystal I had found earlier was oddly intriguing to me, and I was aching to get another look at it. I creaked the bedroom door open and peeked inside. The bed was empty. The window to the room was locked and shut, and the butterfly from before was nowhere to be found. I turned around, and the spot where I had just entered the room, it was resting on the floor. I noticed for the first time, due to the darkness of the house, that the crystal was giving off a soft orange glow. I bent down to get a closer look at it, and when
11.
the fleshy living room started to spin, I grabbed onto the nearest wall as the objects and creatures within the house were shaken and smashed into one another. Abruptly, a window shattered and the rotating stopped. After gathering myself, not wanting to look at the other inhabitants of the room, I drew my attention to the window. Right outside the window, there was
November 28th, 8:10 a.m.
Upon getting too close to the object, my head would spin, almost identical to the feeling of standing up too fast. Out of intense curiosity, I had decided to examine it very closely. There was what looked to be something in the center of the crystal, and I bent down even further. Within the crystal was a spherical mass of internal cracks, constantly healing and forming into new fractures. My jaw dropped as I viewed the intricate beauty of the cracks.
November 28th, 8:11 a.m.
reached out and touched the... The incident was 6 days ago. I'll tell you all I can remember since then. At the time, I was a mid-ranking member of THRAL, a lucrative and very secretive special...